Hello and welcome back to a new video. Today I'm making another Star Wars Lightbox. So it's time for another craft challenge from the channel Boylai Hobby Time. He makes super cool dioramas, so check out his channel. And this month's theme was Star Wars scenes, because I think it's the anniversary of Star Wars, so let's just jump right into it. I decided on the scene with Yoda in the swamp when Luke crash lands and then gets his training from Yoda. So I just found a bunch of references to draw from and I get started. I start with the front layer and create some trees to frame the lightbox, and this whole lightbox was super fun because I just kind of went with the flow. I had a general idea of what I wanted, but I didn't sketch and plan things out super well, and I just did what felt right. Like with these trees, I roughly sketched the shapes, but it doesn't really matter if I cut along the lines perfectly or the branches are perfectly straight because this is a very organic environment and this is a swamp, so having rough cuts and maybe little mistakes just adds to that rugged nature. So I created 2 layers of trees and then I started on Yoda. I drew him out sitting on this tree root, and I don't think he ended up looking like Yoda. He just looked like a weird hairy man, which I guess Yoda kind of looks like, but then my mom said it looked like Yoda, so I just went with it. And normally I would go in with layers of paper and create all this depth with Yoda and make shading and all of that, but I didn't with this one, and I don't know why, but I just was on a roll. I didn't feel like doing that, and I just went with it. It was fun, and I do think it kind of illustrates how much of a difference those layers actually make, because this looks quite a bit more simple and less cool than the others, but it was still fun to make, so. I just keep going with the trees closing in more and more. The scene I chose for this lightbox is the scene with Yoda. I chose this scene because I think it's pretty iconic. Yoda is a very beloved character in the Star Wars franchise, and I thought this would be fun to create the environment of the Dagobah system where Yoda lives. And after a bunch of trees, I started creating the swamp lake where Luke's X-Wing crashes. I wanted this pond to start a little bit before the ship, so I started the water on this layer here. I just kept creating trees and vegetation. I started adding in little bits of grass around where the water is. And now for the layer with the ship, I draw out the X-Wing halfway out of the water and I cut it out. I cut along the lines I drew, but not all the way through, and that way I create line work and details without too much hassle. I don't know the most about Star Wars, but I do know that Luke went to seek out Yoda to learn how to use the Force and control his feelings, and then he ended up crash landing on the planet, and before he could complete his training, he leaves because he sees a vision of all his friends in danger, and he rushes off to save them. I then used some tracing paper as the water, and I glue it across the bottom to look like the water. Then I take some tracing paper here as well, and I glue it over the ship halfway up to act as the water. Then once I was done with this layer, I go and create a few blank layers, and then I glue the same tracing paper on them to create more layers of the pond behind the X-Wing. And then I move on to the background. I decided to add Yoda's little house into this lightbox to add more details, and I think this is a very cute house. I would absolutely hate to live there, but it's very cozy, and I like how round it is and all the shapes, and I think it's very cute. Then I created a few more layers for the trees. For the very back layer, I just wanted it to look like very thick vegetation, so I cut little holes out in random shapes here and there, not even in the form of trees, just to blend it out a bit and make it look like it's in the distance and create lots of depth. And the last finishing touches I wanted to add was some fog amongst the trees and by the water, so I just cut some random shapes out of the sketching paper and I glue those around wherever I see fit. And now I have to assemble this light box. I take some foam board and cut 1/2-inch strips to match the length and width of my light box, and I start gluing the layers together. And for the lighting, I used that same technique as in my previous light box because I lost my LEDs. I placed some thin origami paper between the light box and a strong lamp that I have, and the colors shine through the paper and they end up lighting the whole light box, but I didn't film any of that for this light box, so I'll just show the footage of the previous light box since it's pretty much the same. Except I did use blue and green paper instead of yellow and green. But yeah, here it is done. It's not really my favorite light box, but it's not my least favorite either, and it was really fun to make, so I think that counts for a lot. I do like the colors, and this was a really fun project to make, so yeah, let me know what you think down below. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!